Hey guys, so here's your guys' trig quiz review. Number one. So for number 1 through 4, you guys are just trying to find the trig ratio that's given to us. So we have tangent right here. Um, we're in the perspective of this angle, so this side's opposite, adjacent, and hypotenuse. And please remember, you guys, the nice SOHCAHTOA, which will help us find what we need. Because it's tangent we're finding, that's opposite over adjacent. So that's going to be 20 over 15, which simplifies by dividing top and bottom by 5 to be 4 over 3. So that's number one. Number two, again, trying to find tangent. So in the perspective of that angle, opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. And just remember, you guys, opposite's always the furthest side from the angle. Hypotenuse is always across from the 90 degree, and then adjacent is just a side length right next to the angle. So again, we're using tangent, so it's going to be TOA, right? So opposite over adjacent, can't simplify that, so that's where you guys would have. Number 3, so in the perspective of this angle, we're trying to find cosine. So opposite, a hypotenuse, and adjacent. So remember, in SOHCAHTOA, it's the ka part in SOHCAHTOA. So cosine uses adjacent over hypotenuse, adjacent over hypotenuse, and the 2 and the 16 can cancel. And you guys would have rad 15 all over 8. Here's sine. In the perspective of this angle, the furthest side is the opposite side. The one across from the 90 degree is hypotenuse, and the side length next to it, adjacent. Sine uses opposite over hypotenuse, so opposite side over hypotenuse. Now you need to rationalize this, which means we need to we cannot have a radical in the denominator, so multiply top and bottom by rad 13. So we're gonna get 10 rad 13 all over 6 times 13, because remember, you guys, rad 13 times itself is just that number. Oh, I put a 6 there by accident. Now, one thing I noticed, you guys, is this 5 and this 2 could cancel, and there's just this 10 and this 5 could cancel, and that will just leave you a 2. So 2 rad 13 all over 13. And just to verify that that's good, yep, that is good. Okay. 5 through 8. You gotta find the measure of each side indicated. You gotta round to the nearest tenth. So if you guys don't recall, this is the 10th place, but this number will let you know if you have to round it up or not. If it's 5 or above, then we know to round the 10th place up. If not, then we just keep it. Okay, so in the perspective of this angle, right? This is opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. There is information at O and A, which uses tangent. So tangent of 57 degrees equals opposite over adjacent. Put this all over 1. Cross multiply. X tan 57 equals 13.4. Now remember, we need to isolate x, so we need to get rid of this tan 57. Divide both sides by tan 57. So x equals 13.4 over tan 57. Now let's go to decimals, right? So in the top right hand corner, remember, you guys, go to the wrench, right? In the top right hand corner, it's gotta be degrees. So we're gonna put 13.4 divided by, hit the functions button, and it's gonna be tan of what is it, 57. round it to the nearest tenth, so it's going to be 8.7. 8.7. Number 6, in the perspective of this angle, opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. So we have information at A and H, so that's cosine. So cosine of 23 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Cross multiply, we got x cosine 23 equals 14. We need to isolate the x, so divide both sides by cosine 23. X equals 14 cosine 23, which is roughly, so we're going back to here, 14 divided by cosine 23. And that's going to be, round it to the nearest tenth, you guys, 15.2. And please remember, always go to the wrench to make sure that it's in degrees. Right here, right? Bottom right-hand corner. Degrees. 7. In the perspective of this angle, furthest lengths, opposite, up, cross from the 90 degrees, hypotenuse, and adjacent. So we're definitely going to be using cosine. So cosine 66 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Put it over 1, cross multiply, x equals 6 times cosine 66. So x is already isolated, so we could just put this in our calculator, you guys. 6 cosine 66. 2.4. Round it to the nearest tenth. 2.4. Number 8. In the perspective of this angle, opposite side, hypotenuse, adjacent. So this is definitely going to be O and A for tangent. Tan of 26 equals opposite over adjacent. Cross multiply, we get x tan 26 equals 14. Again, we need to isolate the x. We need to divide both sides by tan 26. So 14 tan 26, and using our calculator, decimals, this is roughly going to be, what, tan 26, 28.7. 28.7. Oh, so that finishes that. Now we're trying to find angles, and we gotta round it to the nearest tenth. So, number 9. Okay, in the perspective of this angle, opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent. So, information at tangent and, or opposite and adjacent. So this is tan theta equals opposite over adjacent. Now we're trying to isolate our theta, so we need to get rid of this tan word. So this is where you guys gotta do tan inverse to both sides. Theta equals tan inverse of 10 over 8. Put this in our calculator. So functions, you guys, tan 10 divided by 8. Round it to the nearest tenth. 51.3 degrees. Number 10. In the perspective of this angle, opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. We got information at opposite hypotenuse, so sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. And again, to solve for this theta, or angle, we gotta do sine inverse to both sides. So theta is gonna equal to sine inverse of 8 over 11, which is going to be 8 divided by 11. Round it to the nearest tenth, you guys, 46.7 degrees. You gotta round the 6 up because in the hundredths place, it's a 5, so we round up the tenths place up by 1. Number 11. In the perspective of this angle, opposite side, hypotenuse, and adjacent, there's information at adjacent hypotenuse, so cosine theta equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Cosine inverse to both sides to isolate the theta. So we're really searching for what's cosine inverse of 3.7 all over 9. Functions, cosine inverse, 3.7 divided by 9. Round it to the nearest tenth, 65.7 degrees. Number 12. So in the perspective, this angle opposite, this is the hypotenuse, that's adjacent, so we're definitely going to be using sine. Sine theta equals opposite over hypotenuse. Now we need to isolate our theta, so, not cosine inverse, sine inverse to both sides. So theta is going to equal to sine inverse of 9 over 15. And if we put that in our calculator, sine inverse of 9 divided by 15, which is 36.9 degrees. Okay, now we have this, where we have to solve for each triangle, round it to the nearest tenth. So here's our triangle, right? Here's our triangle. So we need to find each length and each angle. So first off, I'm just going to denote this as x. And let's find that side length first. So this is opposite. Now it does not matter where you guys put your x and y, by the way. You could have put your x here. I just decided to put it up there. So there's x. So that's the opposite. This is hypotenuse, this is adjacent. So to find our x, you guys, we're going to use tangent. Tan 60, I'll do it down here. It's probably better. So tan 64 equals opposite over adjacent. Cross multiply, x equals 7 tan 64. So that's going to be what we need to plug in our calculator. 7 tan 64, so that's roughly 14.4 is the length of that side. But now we need to find the other side length, right? So for y, to get our y value, guys, we should definitely use the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So we're going to be using cosine. Cosine 64 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Cross multiply, so we get y cosine 64 equals 7. Isolate the y, so we're going to divide both sides by cosine 64. So y is going to be 7 over cosine 64, and this is roughly going to be 7 divided by cosine 64. Cosine 64. So it's going to round the 9 up to the 10, so that means the 15 gets rounded up, so it's going to be about 16.0. 16.0. Round it to the nearest tenth. Oh, I forgot to get the angle. To get this last angle, you guys, remember, a triangle adds up to 180 degrees total. So 180 minus 90 minus 64 will give us that missing angle. Theta, right? 180 minus 90 minus 64, 26 degrees. That missing angle is 26 degrees. Okay, 14. Same drill. So, in the perspective of this angle, this is opposite, this is hypotenuse, and this is adjacent. So I'm just going to denote this as x. So there's information at O and H, so that's sine. So sine of 69 degrees equals 7 over x. Cross multiply. X sine 69 equals 7. Divide both sides by sine 69. So x is roughly going to be, what is 7 divided by sine 69? 7.5. 7.5. Now, let's put this as y, right? So there's information at the adjacent and the opposite side, so we're definitely going to be using tangent. Tan 69 equals opposite over adjacent. Cross multiply, y tan 69 equals 7. Divide both sides by tan 69. So y is roughly going to be 7 divided by tan 69. 2.7 is roughly going to be 2.7. Okay, so there's that set. Now our last set, which is the word problems. So directions, it says make a drawing for each triangle. Oh, I didn't find the degree, huh? I forgot. To find the last degree, 180 minus 90 minus 69, and that's going to be 11. Nope, I lied. 21 degrees is the missing angle right there. Okay, word problems. Make a drawing for each problem, set up a triangle ratio, and solve to the nearest tenth. Include units. So, we have this. Always a good idea, you guys, to draw your nice triangle. Your nice right triangle. So, if the ladder is 20 feet long, you guys, and it's leaning against the side of a building, well, here's the ladder, and this is your guys' building. So if the angle formed between the ladder and the ground is 75 degrees, so that's this angle, you guys, between the ladder and the ground. How far is the bottom of the ladder from the base of the building? Here's the bottom of the ladder, here's the bottom of the building, so this is the angle we're trying to find, or side length. So that's going to be, this is adjacent, this is hypotenuse, so definitely going to be cosine. So cosine 75 equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Cross multiply, x equals 20 cosine 75, which is going to roughly be 20 cosine 75, 5.2 units, feet, 5.2 feet. So there's that one. Number 16, again, draw our right triangle, right? From a 200-foot observatory tower on the beach, so here's the tower, you guys, 200 feet. A man sights a whale. Here's the man on the tower, sights a whale, right? He sights a whale in difficulty. The angle of depression, which is the angle formed with the ceiling, you guys, is 7, which means that's the same thing as the angle of elevation. How far is the shoreline? How far is the whale from the shoreline? Here's the shoreline. Here's the whale. So we're trying to find this length right here. So in the perspective of this, opposite adjacent. So tan of 7 degrees equals opposite over adjacent. Cross multiply, x tan 7 equals 200. Divide both sides by tan 7. X equals roughly 200 divided by tan 7, 1,628.9 units feet. That's how far the shoreline is from the whale. Okay? So hopefully this is useful for you guys. And again, just continuously practice until you guys got it, okay? Good luck. Peace.